Mixed loyalty. Asajj rejoins the Separatists, but to prove her allegiance, she must hunt down and destroy Maul and Mother Talzin. The Dathomirians are tracked down to Bombardia. General Grievous accompanies Asajj to ensure she will not fail. Welcome back to Battle Report number 4. Now, I'm sure everyone's itching to see the new stuff, but those releases have been delayed in Europe. I'm just getting my hands on them. It'll take some time to paint, edit, record, all of that. So it might be a bit of a gap until number 5. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the present. And now let's go to the list breakdowns. So to start off, I've got a redux of Team Dathomir. So I teased this one back in episode 2. We were running the Mandalorian version. So this is a version without Mandalorians. Remember, Jango, not a Mandalorian. We've got instead Night Sisters and some bounty hunters. Now, there might be some questions as far as why I put things on different sides. So my thought process, trying the list out this time, was I wanted to have Jango on the side of Mother to have a good, effective pull on both sides of the table, rather than having them both on one side with Maul and Jango. So that meant Asajj had to go on Maul's team, which made me want to put Night Sisters over there because it's more likely they're going to be shooting into an engagement with a fellow Dathomirian, being with Maul and Asajj, and those guys also, really like having expose. Asajj in particular, Maul can kind of get by without. So we'll see how that goes. I do like having Asajj with Mother, so this will be a bit of an experiment, leaning less on that. Obviously, we've got Maul and Mother, so that's going to be a lot of playmaking ability, and Jango as well. My big concern is the mobility. Mother's not great on her own turn, but also out of activation. We're basically just Mother's tactic and Asajj is reactive. Not a lot of ways to be moving bodies around. But I think we'll still be okay. We got a lot of diceless displacement, a lot of playmakers. If we swap over to the droids, it is a fairly straightforward droids list. Getting Asajj in there is a little bit off the beaten path, but again, we're just want to try some new things, get some new characters on the board. Pairing her with Grievous, so we'll have a pretty dynamic playmaker on both sides of the board, and that also allows us to fit in both super tacks with Magnas and B2s. Often in these double super tack lists, you're seeing not Asajj, but also then you don't have Jango, so I think Asajj is nice for a bit of diceless displacement and a bit of chicanery. We'll try to get that slip away going. Obviously, lots of damage potential, lots of out-of-activation mobility for these droids. Just a very solid list all around. Might be a little bit tight on force, but if the super tacks can hit their free active abilities, then I think we should have enough force to allow Asajj to do her thing. Now, the Separatists won the roll and got first player, so they got the pick of table side. I went with this side because there's better ingress on the right for the Magnas, so they can really do a lot of work. And on the left, we've got that small platform that can be body blocked, so I want Asajj's force push over there. Could be rough for the B2s, though. For Dathomir, I'm putting the more aggressive squad on the left and the more kind of conservative squad with Mother on the right because that's how I like to do shifting. The priority is steal the secret plans, so the little plus, and the first activation is going to be Magnas. Now, usually I don't like going early with them, but very first isn't too bad because they can just kind of take cover, advance, and get to the middle, and then they will be there to be tactical networked, Grievous, anything they need to do. So very first, I'm fine with. So as we say, take cover, advance. If they had to actually steal objectives, they'd have to advance attack, and they probably wouldn't have range. So this is not bad. And I think in Battle Report 1, they also were the very first activation. So funny how that goes. Separatist player is going to secure 3, but no scoring, obviously, in round 1. Taking control of 2 objectives and getting our Magnas into the middle of the board is a win, I would say. Now for the response, Dathomir gets Mother Talzin. So she could advance, but hard to see here. She is going to be out of range on that side, and if she goes around the building the other way, so she can't really get into range, take back an objective. Not going to be super useful. We'll reserve her for later, and we get instead Django. So he's got to go. I'd like to take the edge. I prefer to take an edge rather than the middle in this circumstance, but it'll be pretty expensive force-wise, and it'll be kind of tight. So instead, we'll be a bit more conservative. Spend 1 to jump, take the ingress for a little extra distance, and then we're going to use a move action to get down. We're going to try to be just outside range 2 of the Magnas so that we can shoot, get some crits, which the Magnas can't do anything about. Did somebody say crits? Man, oh man, that's going to be 4 crits getting through for Django. That's pretty good. That'll be 7 damage with a strain, jump, and a shove. Django's happy where it is. He won't really jump. I'll spend 1 for the capture wire. Could have gotten a free capture wire, but I do like 7 damage with the strain, because now if the Magnas try to do anything, they will become wounded. And the capture wire is enough to get the Magna off of the objective, so it will flip over to Django, and Dathomir will score 2. So kind of an expensive force turn, but we're really neutering those Magnas for the time being. And Kraken is next up for the Separatists. That's a very good draw. We're taking a look here to see if he will get the distance needed just with an advance. And he will get range on Django. He will be a little short of the objective, but if he can get a shove, he can use the follow-up to get in range. So since he's okay, he will use his tactic to dash the B2s up the battlefield. So that'll get them into the thick of things nice and quick. And then he himself will start out with a move action, taking the advance, getting range on Django. Kraken's going to be throwing 8 dice here from Kalani with really good expertise. That's going to be a good shot. Hoping to really put some hurt on Django. You know, if we can get a wound on him, then his kit becomes quite expensive. And that will be a good start. 3 down the tree. I think we're going to go aggressive and do 5 damage, pin shove. And bypass the free tactical network. We'll pay for it later. But with that shove, after getting Django off of the objective, we'll bring Kraken on to that left side. Wrong elevation, but good enough for now. And then spending 1 for the tactical network, we'll bring a B2 onto that objective. So we're going to secure all 4. That's very good. And they'll take a shot into Django as well. That's also very good. Django's defense is no match for crits and expertise damage, so the B2 will get the 4 damage they need to finish off Django, get the wound, and secure all 3 middle objectives for a total of 4. The Separatists have got to be feeling really good about that. I'm checking here for a mother activation. Obviously, I did miss a trigger on a dash there from her identity, but we'll see here. It doesn't really matter. I draw the Shatterpoint, and we'll be able to make a big play with that. Now, I want multiple bodies to take multiple points, so I am going to start with the Bounty Hunters here. They'll pick someone to dash towards on the other side of the table. This left guy picking the Magna Guard for that best angle to get around the left side of the building. And then they will advance as well with their first action. So one guy's going to go up the ladder and body block the metal, so doesn't even have to do any killing to get that objective. He'll just take it by being on the right height. And then the other guy is going to go towards the middle. So now, time to get a little tricky. We'll start with the guy in the middle attacking the B2. 3 are going to go through, so that's going to be 3 damage down to 2. And shove pin, that shove being really important because that will secure us that middle objective. Now, I'd love to knock Kraken away from the objective that he's currently on by that tower, just so if they kill the Bounty Hunters, they don't get to automatically take it back. But he is steadfast, and it's going to be really hard to get the double shove there. So instead, we'll just attack the Magna Guards. That's going to be another 3 down the tree. Same thing, 3 damage, pin shove, getting the wound on those Magna Guards. So they don't have to worry as much about the strain now, but they at least can't be moved around and be contesting bodies. So Dathomir scoring 3, that's the answer they needed when being locked out of the middle row. But the Separatists get their own Shatterpoint to respond, and they've got some options there. After thinking it through, I believe Kraken is the best bet. He'll once again target the B2s with his tactic. The first one will remove the pin. The second will be able to get onto the objective. Kraken will attack the guy up top with kind of flubbing the roll, but he gets the 1 crit, which will at least knock him back off of that platform, opening it up for Kraken. Then this B2 is going to be tactical networked for 1 force, and at the very least they will outnumber the bounty hunters, but they will attack. Another poor roll for the Separatists, just getting 1 damage through there, but hey, even with that bad rolling, they're going to be able to take back both objectives, as Kraken is going to use his second action to climb and get on that top objective. Scoring 4, and he will be a nuisance up there with his steadfast. So as a result, I think now is the time for Mother, because she does have that manipulating hand that will get steadfast Kraken off, and she will have range as well to the B2s. Now, ideally, she'd use her tactic to dash someone into coordinating fire range, but the Night Sisters are just a little far away, which, so be it. We won't have that. So instead, we will use the tactic to just probably get Asajj moving up the table. It puts him within advance range easily of that left side objective, or a Maul activation probably could even dash him up there. So it will give us options in the future and potentially save a force on his activation. But now the real star of the show, Mama T, going to walk into range 4 of that second B2, who's so graciously come up aggressively. And then before she attacks, she will use Manipulating Hand to get rid of Kraken off of that objective. And that will allow the bounty hunter down below to retake it at the end of this turn, which is good news. So now Big Mama will get to unleash into the B2s with her nice 7 dice attack, and she unleashes all right. That's going to be a full tree from Mother, which will allow some shoves, some conditions, and a reposition. Was not expecting to get that far, so she will use that, and she will body block that tower herself, healing the bounty hunters, and that will allow 2 spots to be taken back. If I knew I was going to roll that well, I could have paydayed the bounty hunters to tactics them with Mother, and she could have gone to the middle, but, you know, I never planned to roll that well. So nice that it happened, though, and sets them up well. Asajj now coming from the Separatists. So she is the one with the force push who could knock Mother off, but she'd also have to get to that level herself because of the bounty hunter, which is really force intensive. So I don't really want to spend 4 force on this activation, so instead Asajj will advance, and then Dathomir and Dexterity twice for 2 force, and attack the bounty hunters. Only 3 down the tree, so no push, unfortunately. She will get 6 damage, which would have wounded the bounty hunters if Mother had not been able to heal them up with her life drain ability. So they are just barely hanging on, but the shove, the double shove, is going to be good enough for Asajj to take control of the middle, and at least the Separatists will score 3. In all of that, Asajj does get a heal, so she's going to use it actually to heal the pin from the Magna Guards, just to open up possibilities for Tactical Network or Grievous ability so that they can dash and attack. Dathomir gets the Night Sisters. They could go aggressively, but it's going to be really hard, kind of impossible for them to flip the middle. So I think I'm just going to take a conservative play here, save on some force. They really like getting hunkers, so I'm just going to advance and then take cover instead of using the jump. This also kind of puts them in a bit of a safer spot because they are on the wrong objective level, and sometimes that can keep you out of the line of fire because you get shot at instead of punched a lot of the time. Separatists get Kalani. He is not... Well, yeah, he could go up and get a shot on them, but they are going to be rolling a bunch of extra dice with that hunker. Reserving him is free, so we might as well do that, and instead we get B2s. So they will flip to injured, and at first I thought this is great, but you know, they can't go to the left, they don't fit, they won't really be able to take Mother off. So instead, I'm thinking about just shoring up this middle and right objectives and maybe just starting to chip into those Night Sisters, make coordinated fire kind of prohibitively expensive. Not prohibitively, but you know, make it cost something for the Dathomirians. Now, I'm going to need to get some shoves, actually, if I don't want to spend 2 force for the dash on these guys. But let's get a little risky. We're in a good spot, I think. And if we need to spend the force, we will. We're going to get a bit tricksy here. We're going to put the second B2 into melee to remove that hunker. Removes a lot of dice from the Night Sisters and makes it less likely that they'll get the reposition. The first guy punches and gets 2 successes through, which will get that almighty shove, and 3 damage. Is not too bad either. Now, going to be able to shoot and follow up into that void as well. So he'll unleash with 7 dice. Good roll there, getting 3 through, which will be 4 damage with a shove and a reposition. So that is going to get the wound and allow the B2s to easily take control of this objective. They already were with the shoves, but yeah, getting the wound is nice at the same time too. And they're going to kind of move into a spot that is awkward for Mama to take without leaving her perch. So she's going to stay up top. As Dathomirians draw the bounty hunters, they're in a bit of a predicament. If they only scored 3, then it's going to be really easy for Grievous to end the struggle. Just walk up, kill someone, flip an objective. So they're going to go for the big play, try to secure 4 objectives by the end of the turn. So we'll dash on the tactic and then take a move action with the red guy going for that back middle objective. Very spicy. Seeing those back objectives getting attacked in shifting priorities. Doesn't happen all that much. Certainly not like Sabotage Showdown. And then the other guy is going to use that move action to climb past the Magna and get onto the correct level. So he will take that objective away from the B2s. First attack into Kalani. 2 crits and a damage will go through for a total of 3, and that all-important shove. Knocking Kalani off and using the follow-up to get onto the objective more securely. So very good from him. And then the second guy, we'll just toss some dice at Asajj. He gets a very good roll, and Asajj does not. So that will be 4 down the tree. 5 damage, pin, shove. She doesn't like that. And there we go. The Dathomirians will score 4. The thinking of going after Asajj there is that, helps on the middle objective if we need to retake that. And if we can wound her, then she's very expensive in the Force. But there is a play here, I think, with Grievous to take down the struggle by flipping 3 objectives this turn. So we are going to go for that. And I think we just need a little bit of, Not even that much luck. I think we just need an extra jump from his attack. So he'll start by moving Kalani up with his tactic, and then he will move up himself with an advance. He will swap his stance over to Cunning Warlord and take a pistol shot into the bounty hunter up top, getting 3 successes through, which is exactly what we're looking for. That is going to be shove, pin, jump, 5 damage, getting the wound. When Grievous gets that wound, he will be able to heal, but first he can follow up the shove, he can get a jump, and that extra distance will be big. And with the heal, he will take off a couple conditions. He'll get the exposed off the B2s and the strain off the Magnas. Talzin just doesn't have the range on a dash to go and mess up Grievous's plans, so she'll stick where she is. Appetite for Destruction will allow those B2s to shuffle, take a pot shot at the bounty hunter as well, see if they can get a shove or some conditions, but no dice. That is fine. Grievous now has plenty of distance to spend 1, scuttle, take that back objective, and score 4 big points. He got the momentum. That is a struggle win. Very nicely done from Grievous there, using a lot of his kit to make a play happen, starting on one side of the board, going all the way to the other. So much for the element of surprise. I think this is a pretty easy choice, given what's coming up. Kalani here could kind of get that back right for the Separatists, but we've got Maul, we've got Asajj on that back left corner for the Dathomirians, and we kept Mama up top on the tower so she can just continue to camp that objective and be a good old body blocker there. So easy choice. We will take those 3 objectives. I feel like it was a well-fought struggle one, though, the Separatists were coming hard and fast. It felt like Dathomir was always fighting an uphill battle, and a bit of an underdog there. But they gave it their all. We'll see what they can do here. Struggle 2. They get Maul. I think if I had known Maul was on top of the deck, I would have gone with him instead of the bounty hunter's last turn. But so be it. Sometimes those 50-50 gambles you don't take come back to bite you. And Asajj will start with using his reactive, get down into range 2 of that objective, just make it nice and secure, harder for the Separatists to take. Maul will take 1 damage to force speed up, and then 2 more damage to pull the B2s towards him. Just trying to wound those Separatist supports that do so much work for them. Maul is going to stay in his Dark Rage stance for the attack, rolling 8 dice. He will get 3 down the tree plus an extra damage, so that's 6 down to 5 with a strain. Not too bad. Once again, if they do anything, they will get wounded. And that is 3 big points for the Dathomirians. Kalani is the only thing left for the Separatists. He could go out to his right, but kind of seems a bit pointless. For range, he will make a Magna Dash. He's got a B2 in range, but he doesn't want to wound them, so they will not avail themselves of that. So instead of going for an objective, Kalani is just going to walk up, stay on that back point for the future, and take a shot into Mama. And it's a good roll. He gets 3 through, which will be a shove, 4 damage, and a free tactical network. Not getting the disarm, which would have been great on Mama, but that's okay. Then with the tactical network, Kalani will choose the B2s. They will not dash, and they will remove a condition, which is the strain. For the last activation, Asajj, he'll attack the B2s, spending a force for expose. Good thing he did. Bad rolls all around, but he gets just enough. He'll go down the top of his tree, 4 damage down to 3, gets the wound, and puts an expose on the B2s. That doesn't really matter. Second action, he will advance. That gets him on the middle objective, and he'll stay within 4 of Maul. So that can give some tricks in the next round. Maybe Maul can move him to a different objective if needed. Now, fresh deck for the Separatists, and they draw the B2s. And, After getting popped by Asajj, if I activate them again, they will disappear from the board, which isn't great. Separatists like having those bodies around, but at the same time, I don't really want to clog up my reserve slot, so I think I'm going to activate first action move, get out of melee with Asajj, and I'm just going to use this to try to put some dice into Maul, maybe get him out of position, maybe hurt him enough that his next turn is awkward with his self-damage. The guy on the right will go first. He gets 1 crit through, which will be a damage and a shove. That's why he went first, so that he could stay in range. Next guy won't get the extra dice, but he'll also attack Maul. Also getting 1 crit through with 2 extra damage, so a total of 3 damage and another shove. So, a bit of damage into Maul, but he is kind of out of it there for the time being, which is good. Fresh deck for Dathomir. This is just a setup activation. Asajj is not going to be able to be within 4 of Mama and on that middle objective, which isn't the best, but kind of is what it is. I think we'll just really get him planted there on that middle objective, engage him with Kalani to kind of slow Kalani down, make him a little less mobile, and take a swing into Asajj, getting an extra 2 dice. Asajj will get 4 down his tree. That's going to be 5 damage, getting the wound on Asajj, plus the strain, expose, disarm, achievement unlocked. Asajj has all 4 conditions on her, and that will end the struggle. So now, the Separatists are going to need to commandeer a new ride. From the Separatist perspective, I think middle, top left is probably the way to go. Either way, they're going to be starting 1-1-0 on the objectives, and this way it kind of keeps it more towards their left side where the bulk of their forces are, versus the Dathomirians. They've got Maul, the Night Sisters further over to the right, so they'll be a little bit further from the action and a bit more restricted, versus kind of the whole army of the Separatists minus a Magna Guard are on that left side of the board. So just starting in an overall strong position. And the unclaimed objective is going to be active. Ooh, Shatterpoint to start Struggle 3. That's really, really strong. We could bring back the Magna Guards, but all they do is really kind of advance, take cover. Well, they can't even advance because they're engaged with Asajj. So not them. I think Grievous is the play. At the time, I clearly had some other ideas as well, because I'm not sure what I was measuring here. Maybe Asajj. But yeah, Grievous can definitely get there, and he can probably knock Asajj off of that middle objective as well. So that would start 2-0 for the Separatists. And that's going to be hard for the Dathomirians to come back from. He'll do a first action move, taking an advance and going down. Then he'll take a pistol shot on Asajj, and Asajj will spend 1 force for slipaway, removing her pin. Just 1 gets through, big blocks from Asajj. 2 damage and a shove goes down to just 1 damage after protection steadfast. But it's okay, we've got the Magna within 3, they'll shuffle, do an attack, and they are going to do some work against Asajj. 6 for 6, just 2 blocks. That's going to be a full tree for the Magnas. Double shove. They will get a reposition and kind of hang out between the objectives to give them flexibility going forwards, and stay within 2 of Asajj to heal the disarm. And then Grievous will pay 1, scuttle, sit right up next to that objective. Kalani will back cap, and the Separatists will score 3. Very good start to the struggle. Great move getting Asajj off of the middle objective there. Django is top decked for the Dathomirians. I mean, he's good, but he can only flip 1. He needs bodies around, so we'll reserve, and we get bounty hunters instead. That's actually pretty good, I think. This guy can dash towards that far right Magna, and that will leave him out of melee range with Kalani, allowing him to get a shot off. And then the other guy is just going to, why not? He'll also dash towards the Magna, but the other one. Now, I could just focus shoot here and spend 2 force for a bunch of extra dice, but I don't like that all that much for the cost, so we'll just go ahead, start off with an attack into Kalani for a single crit getting through, but that's all we need. 1 damage and a shove, falling up onto the objective. So that will secure us the double, and then the second guy will also attack Kalani. He gets 2 crits and an extra damage through for a total of 4 damage, leaving Kalani close to death, but not quite wounded. And Dathomir will score 3, both sides will get a momentum, and they will live to fight another day. The double starts next to Grievous, which is good. That's the one the Separatists have, and they draw Grievous. I don't really want to go with Grievous now, because he's kind of happy where he is. If he goes and kills someone, Mother will just take the double away from him, so he will reserve for 1, and we get Kraken instead. He'll use his tactic dash to get away from Mama, and he doesn't quite have range onto the bounty hunters there, so he's going to take an advance and get closer to the objective. Then he will clearly have range, and yeah, we want to stay outside of melee with Asajj as well. That seems to be no problem. We know that Kraken can shoot, and then he flubbed against bounty hunters before. This time, that is the opposite of a flub. 5 successes getting through. That's going to be, we'll go with 5 damage, pin, double shove, free tactical network, just because, we want to save some force for Asajj or someone. And luckily, before getting blocked by those crates, the shove just gets Kraken into range on that middle objective. Then, with the tactical network, he's going to actually tactical network his buddy Kalani, who will dash away from Asajj outside melee range of the bounty hunter. He won't get an extra die, but 5 dice with the super tack should be good. And it is. 2 crits are going to get through. That's 3 damage, shove, and the wound. Hunters are wounded. That is a great tag team from the Super Tack buddies there. Mama does have a reprisal, but she's not going to be able to get range on Kalani going that way. And if she goes up the tower, she won't have range either, even though she'll have line of sight. So she won't be able to attack him. Unfortunately, that kind of sucks. So I think she's instead going to dash towards that other objective, put a body on it, and also just make Grievous think twice before he leaves, right? We don't want him to be able to walk away from that objective and keep it under control. So the double is going to be on the middle, and yeah, Django could get there. The pull angles are kind of awkward, and it would probably cost quite a bit of force. Yeah, I don't love those pull angles. I don't really want to chance it. We will go with the top card. We get the Night Sisters. They can definitely take the middle, but not much more than that. They will become injured, and we'll start with an advance towards the middle, I think. Should be pretty doable as far as, we can definitely get 2 bodies and outnumber Kraken. But I also think it might be time, as much as I would have loved to kind of get Kalani into not so fast range, I think it's just time to knock him off now and get the momentum for him and make it a little bit easier to take that far away objective. So in order to do that, we'll spend the 2 force to jump, and that will get 1 to within range of Kalani. She's staying outside of melee so that she can shoot, and also they'll keep their hunker token, which is nice. And her sister will just get nice and close to the objective. So that is good there. The other one doesn't have range, so she might as well shoot Kraken, who is engaged with Asajj, so 2 extra dice. Good attack. That's 4 down the tree for a total of 5 damage, down to 4. And a shove, which is ignored, and exposed jump. So she'll just get a little bit closer to that objective. Second one, attacking Kalani, just 6 dice. Only getting 2 down the tree, but that's enough. 2 damage and a pin gets the wound on Kalani. And they'll take back that middle objective. Scoring 2, it is a precarious spot for the Dathomirians, unfortunately. I still don't want to go with Grievous, so off the top we get Asajj, who has cleared a lot of stuff. She will remove the strain, move, attack, and there is the full tree. Asajj will win this game in style. She'll do a shove and then also a free force push, just yoinking that Night Sister far, far away by the end of it. And that will leave it at 2-1 on the middle, with Asajj and Kraken outnumbering the single Night Sister. So 4 points and the struggle victory and the game victory for the Separatists as they take home a pretty convincing result. Much like the first struggle, I'd say in the third, the Separatists were never really sweating all that much. They felt very in control. I think it played a very tight game all around, really showcasing what the double super attacks can do, even with the B2s off the board at the end. So let's jump then into the recap replay zone. I think from the perspective of the Dathomirians, there are a few things that could have been done better. I think the thing about Mother lists is she can be very, very good, but also she needs to pull a lot of weight, I find, in her lists. And going off to the right and sitting up top on that small platform, while good, meant that she was kind of stuck there. She never was really making big plays in the game. So I think pushing her more towards the middle early on so she could have a bigger influence probably would have been a smarter play. And then also with Maul, maybe I should have pushed him towards the middle when he activated. Obviously, he didn't come back again, so it didn't bite me too much, but camping on that back left objective is not especially useful because it's not going to come up in Struggle 3 100%. So maybe I should have pushed him up a little more aggressively and didn't need to be so defensive when the Separatists didn't really need to push for the victory anyways. For the Separatist side, things we could have done better is probably just not have Asajj. She really didn't bring all that much to the table, I would say, unfortunately. She's just so expensive. And maybe a Dooku list can afford it because he's usually swimming in force. It got a bit tighter with Grievous. We were still okay, but yeah, when she kind of needs to do 4 force, if she doesn't get her free force push from the tree, then that can be a bit rough. But on the good side, we can kind of transition into our MVP of the game, which I'm giving to Kraken. He had 3 activations, and at the end of every single activation he had, the Separatists scored 4 points. So that was twice in the opening struggle. He ended with a midline lockout. And then in the third struggle as well, he got all 3 by the end of his activation. So I think he was a really big reason that the Dathomirians were playing catch-up all the time. And, you know, this isn't necessarily the perfect showcase for my hot take that Kraken maybe it's not that hot take, but I think Kraken's just as good as Kalani for 1 point cheaper. Obviously here it's a why not both sort of situation, but he brings a lot to the table. His more flexible tactic, steadfast and protection when contesting, and then easy access to double shove or pin shove on his first 2 successes. So he's got a lot going for him. I'm not necessarily always going to take him over Kalani, of course. Those extra dice are also great with all the attacks that Separatists can do. But, you know, if you play a point down to do Kraken instead of Kalani, I think that is 100% justified in a good number of list builds. So let this video be your inspiration for all the kids out there, your validation that, no, you can play a point down to do him. Even though, again, in this one, I obviously wasn't doing that, but I have in other games. So yeah, those are really my thoughts wrapping this one up. We've had 2 games with Mother now, and I feel like I've underutilized her both times, unfortunately. So maybe she'll make a 3rd appearance down the line, but probably very far down the line. Now that we've got new releases, there's other stuff to show off in the meantime. But if you really want to see her sooner rather than later, then just put it in the comments and keep an eye out for some new stuff. We're getting a new objective eventually, so maybe Battle Report 6 or 7, we might see it, depending on when I can get my hands on it. And there's some cool stuff coming down the line, so keep a lookout for that. Check out some puzzles. Have a good one.